Rose series, and it's my enormous pleasure to introduce these two guys. Erin, starting with you. If you want to be a great writer, it's useful to have a lot of experiences. Erin Reynolds is a man of adventure. Before he became a writer, he was a carpenter, a dancer, a businessman, a waiter, a chef, and an actor. Not all at the same time. Other experience, Erin backpacked across Europe and later, I think you're going to really like this one, later went into the deep ocean in a cage so he could have the experience of being surrounded by great white sharks. I would have thought you'd love that. He has lived in Okinawa, Illinois, Florida, Texas, Colorado, and New Jersey. An original thinker since childhood, which is the best thing a person can be. He had parents who cheered his passions, even though neither shared them, which is the best kind of parent you can be. Letting your child follow their dream. He has written dozens of books, including Creepy Pair of Underwear, Creepy Carrots, Nerdy Birdie, Pirates vs. Cowboys, Cowboy Dave, Cave Boy Dave, Superhero High School, and his latest is double win, Dude, which they wrote and illustrated together. Okay, now for you. Okay. I'll have to admit it, I am a Dan Santat. Santat. Fangirl. Or middle-aged woman. Dan has completed...
I'm a fan of Dan Santat, or you can call me middle-aged woman. Thank you, all of you.
That didn't once come out that way. Dan has completed over 60 books, a gifted illustrator and marvelous writer. He has illustrated for other writers, illustrated for himself when he writes his own books, and done a graphic novel, and has created the show Replacements for Disney Channel. Among his books are Frankenstein, Three Ninja Pig, Comic Squad, Rodzilla, Always Lots of Heinies at the Zoo, which is the best name ever, and the 2015 Caldecott winner for The Adventure of Beagle, the Unimaginary Friend. Saved the first 3 years in Brooklyn, Dan was raised in California, went to the University of California in San Diego, where he earned a BS in biology.
Oh, he earned a BS.
BS. Microbiology.
I think, luckily for us and also for him, he then went to the Art Center School of Design. Dan lives in Southern California with his wife Leah and sons Alec and Kyle. Welcome, and welcome all of you guys.
Are you introducing Erin?
I have one.
I will introduce you. This is Erin Russell, and she is going to moderate this so the two of them just don't fight and step on each other's words.
No, she's not moderating. She's the other author.
Oh, I am so sorry. They didn't tell me you were coming.
No worries.
I'm sorry. Tell us about yourself. Because I'm unprepared.
Oh, actually,
I am really sorry.
No worries. Hi, I'm Erin Danielle Russell, and I'm the author of How to Trick the Tooth Fairy, and also the co-author of the Dork Diaries series with my mom, Rachel Renee Russell. You know why? Very nice to meet you all.
You know what? I wrote an intro for both of them because I am your moderator. So let's begin by talking about these two fine people here. My first guest comes all the way from Northern Virginia. She is the co-author of the New York Times bestselling Dork Diaries series, along with her mother, Rachel Renee Russell, and illustrated by her little sister, Nikki Russell. Today she is here to present her new solo debut picture book, How to Trick the Tooth Fairy. Woo! Yow! She is so powerful she can wield all the Infinity Stones without a gauntlet. Please give a warm welcome to the lovely and talented Erin Danielle Russell.
Woo!
She's so powerful, two of her names includes us.
Dan
Erin
and Erin. Oh
and
my
Danielle.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's how powerful she is, folks.
I've just been transcended across the board.
And then she just threw in a third.
Yes, just to show off.
Yes. Now, my next guest comes from Chicago, Illinois, and he is the New York Times bestselling author of over 30 books for children. Such titles include Nerdy Birdie, Chicks and Salsa, and the 2013 Caldecott honor-winning book, Creepy Carrots. And yeah! And last year's big hit, Creepy Pair of Underwear. Today, he is here presenting his new book, Dude, illustrated by me. He is so cool that Superman wears Erin Reynolds pajamas. Please give a warm welcome to the lovely and talented Aaron Reynolds.
Aaron!
Aaron. And I'm your host, Dan Santat. I come all the way from Los Angeles, California, and I have worked on over 90 children's books for kids, which include the 2015 Caldecott medal-winning book, The Adventures of Beagle, the Unimaginary Friend, the New York Times best-selling book, Are We There Yet? And the New York Times best-selling book, After the Fall.
Save some room on the New York Times bestseller list for the rest of us, Dan. Would you please? You hog.
So I unfortunately do not have the benefit of being blessed with the name of Erin. So I am the only Dan on this panel, so therefore I have called this panel Between Two Erins. With your host, Dan Santat. Now, first order of business, my wife always told me that it was important not to talk to strangers. And so I thought it'd be nice to start with a little icebreaker. And it would be lovely to start off by having Miss Russell here begin by reading her book, How to Trick the Tooth Fairy. So please, Erin, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, first off, how many people here have lost a tooth? Very good. How many people here have been visited by the tooth fairy? I see. How many people here have tricked the tooth fairy? Anyone? Good idea. Very good idea. Kaylee is a mischievous little trickster who decided to trick the tooth fairy. But little did she know the tooth fairy is a trickster too. Let's find out what happens. How to Trick the Tooth Fairy by Erin Danielle Russell and illustrated by the great Jennifer Hansen Raleigh. Kaylee loved to pull pranks. She has a twinkle of mischief in her eye. She's a prank princess in training. Her favorite holiday is April Fool's Day. Can anyone tell me what happens on April Fool's Day? Yes, sir. You prank people, yeah. She's cute as a button, sharp as a tack, and has comfy shoes for creeping. She pulled pranks every day, every night, and even on holidays. What is going on here? Someone is not going to get Christmas presents. She was always looking for her next unsuspecting victim. But was Kaylee the princess of pranks? No. That would be this little trickster, the Tooth Fairy. She's the ruling princess of pranks. She has a magical tooth grabber, a smirky smile, fairy wings for a quick getaway, and more tricks in her bag than teeth. But she had no clue whom she was about to meet. She flies into Kaylee's room. The Tooth Fairy was expecting to find something small, smooth, and white. Not green with webbed feet. Eek! Now, if you prank the Tooth Fairy with a fake frog, you'll get real frogs. She made frogs fly out of the sky. Had Kaylee finally met her mischief-making match? Game on. She offered the Tooth Fairy a slice of pie. I'm so sorry. And if you know anything about fairies, you know they love sweets. The Tooth Fairy dug into her dessert, Suddenly, her mouth was on fire. Now, if you prank the Tooth Fairy with prankster pie, she'll top it with gobs of gooey ice cream. Yuck! Kaylee was a mess. Pass the sprayer, please. But once the sprayer was in her hands, Kaylee turned it on the Tooth Fairy. Whoosh! Now, if you prank the Tooth Fairy with a splash of water, she'll make it rain cats and dogs. Yikes! Storm scared Kaylee. She ran and hid in the closet door. The Tooth Fairy wanted to outprank Kaylee, but frightening her wasn't fun at all. Come out, wherever you are. Kaylee sprung out of hiding, surprising the Tooth Fairy with a burst of bubblegum. Gotcha! Oops, my wand! And if you know anything about tooth fairies, you know a broken wand means topsy-turvy Tooth Fairy trouble. Kaylee and the Tooth Fairy may have been soaked and scared and stunned, but luckily, Kaylee had one more trick up her pajama sleeve. Quick, hand me the sprayer. This bubblegum fixed my wand. And so did the Tooth Fairy. And together, they cleaned up their mess. Bye-bye, little fur balls. Now, if you know anything about pranksters and fairies, you know there's always room for lots of fairy dust cookies, 2 prank princesses, and 1 new friendship. I think my tooth is loose. The end.
Woo! Woo, woo, woo!
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you very much. Now, Erin, what time is it?
I think it is story
story
time.
time.
Yes. All right. So are we gonna?
Our icebreakers that we're going to read.
We're gonna read our new book, dude.
Since
Okay.
there's 2 of us. 2 of us are required. She's so powerful, it requires 2 of us
Yes.
to read a one-word book.
Yes.
So
Yes. So, dude, our brand new book, written by me, illustrated by Dan Santat, is a kind of book I have been wanting to write for a long time. It is a story. Do you have the cover? Do you have the cover up there? Let me see the cover. It is a. It is a story about 2 surfers, a platypus and a beaver, and an adventure they have, possibly involving a shark. You know, no spoilers, but there is a shark on the cover, so you decide. And it is a one-word picture book. I've been wanting to write a story to see, can I write a story with just 1 word? And so there's only one word in this whole story, and that 1 word is...
hey,
No, not hey. Dude. So shall we read it?
let's.
All right. How are we going to do it? I'm going to do the platypus, no, I'll do the beaver.
I'd like to be the platypus.
Okay.
I also have fun being the shark.
Fine. Be 2 characters.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay.
Can I have the clicker too?
All right, yeah,
Can I have the
sure.
clicker?
Do everything, Dan. I'll sit over here in the
Laser
corner.
pointers.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
All right,
okay.
here we go. Dude, written by Erin Reynolds. That's me. Illustrated by Dan Santat. That's him.
That's me.
Dude.
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 Ooh. Dude.
Dude.
Huh?
Dude.
I'm okay.
Dude.
Dude.
Awkward.
Dude.
Dude.
Dude. Dude.
Huh? Huh? Dude?
Oh.
Oh. Dude!
Dudes.
Huh?
Ah, dude! Oh my God! There's a shark on the beach! I didn't even know sharks had legs! What's a shark doing on the beach? I didn't even know they had tongues! I thought sharks were lactose intolerant! They want ice cream! Dude.
Dude. Dude.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Now that you've properly been greeted by us,
In the scariest possible way.
now we're going to have a fun Q&A session with all these wonderful questions that I came up with.
I'm not terrified at all.
So, Erin,
Yes. Oh, which
Yeah,
one?
well,
Erin, what is the proper way to spell Erin?
obviously, there's only one way to spell
What's the
Erin.
one way to spell it?
A-A-R-O-N.
2 points to Gryffindor. Awesome. Erin, what is the proper way to spell Erin?
Well, the Irish way to spell it is E-R-I-N.
Oh, two points to Gryffindor.
Ooh.
Good job, good job. Good job. Now, Gryffindor.
What's Gryffindor?
Now, okay, now this is a multi-layered question. Did each of you go to college to study writing for children? If not, what did you study in college, and what was your life goal before you were published?
I can't remember all that, dude. That's
You
like
don't-
3 parts.
You don't remember where you
Three,
went to?
well, you like have 3 parts to the.
Okay,
you go
first
You
question.
go first. Ladies first on that one.
Where did you study, and what major were you?
I went to the University of Michigan, and I studied English with a sub-concentration in creative writing.
Okay, so your end goal was to be
Yes.
a children's author. Now, if you were not in children's publishing right now, what do you think you would be doing?
I'd be a cook.
You'd be a cook?
Yes.
Okay, I think it. And what was your life before you were in children's publishing? Like right before, right on the cusp. Like what were you doing?
I was a cartoonist.
Oh,
So
really?
I love drawing, I love writing, and I love cooking.
Like a syndication, like for a newspaper?
Yes, I wrote a comic strip for my college paper called Jada Joy, and I was a cartoonist in high school too. So
Okay.
just doodled, you know, I should have been studying, but instead I was drawing in my notebooks. So yeah, that turned into more of a career.
Well, that's great. I mean, being focused from. I remember when I graduated. Let's just turn this into an open discussion because I remember when I graduated from high school, the big goal was just to get into college. And then when someone said, "Oh, we'll declare a major," I thought, "Oh my gosh, you need me to pick something that's going to decide the rest of my
Right.
life."
Yeah.
I worked my butt off just to get here, and now you're telling me you have one choice, go. And I
Yeah.
went in undeclared, and that's how I ended up with a microbiology degree.
As
You-
one does.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you, Erin, what did you study in
I
college?
went to college and I studied. I knew I had a big imagination. I knew I wanted to do something creative, but no one ever told me, illuminated all the creative options for me. So I went into theater. So I was a theater major in college.
It came in handy.
It did. It did. No, I have a very small passion bubble. Yes, it's
Gotcha,
very
gotcha.
small.
So, okay, so now here's a slightly terrifying question, but a
Yes.
question I think we may have to face, maybe, who knows, but finish this sentence.
Oh boy.
If the publishing industry disappeared tomorrow, I would do blank as a living.
I would be a chef. I would. I also love cooking.
Oh, very
Yeah,
cool.
between theater and when I eventually became a writer, I actually went to culinary school for a year and love cooking, and so that's what I would do too.
Would you be a singing chef?
Probably not.
No.
No.
How about you, Erin?
Yeah, I'd be a chef. I would be on Cutthroat Kitchen because I love that show. So I'd probably be making food out of chewed gum or something.
Oh wow, I'm like one of the few that you guys probably are totally addicted to the cooking shows like Great British
Yes,
Bake Off and stuff.
yeah.
I can't sit there and
do
do
it.
it. I can sit there and watch Real Housewives of Atlanta with my wife for 4 hours, but I can't possibly sit there and be like, those are nice muffins. You know, I don't know. That's not in my nature. But that's great. So. So here's a question that kind of ties into all this. What are some of your favorite non-book related hobbies?
Cartoons.
Okay. Oh, so what were some of your favorite cartoons growing up? Curious.
Oh gosh. Okay, all of the Nicktoons. Doug. Rocko's Modern Life.
Oh, Rocco's was great. I heard they're
Yeah.
coming back. I heard they're trying to put that back together.
But in my recent memory, because I still watch cartoons to this day, I love Steven Universe
Oh yeah, no, I hear that's amazing. Yes.
and Teen Titans Go.
Did you see the trailer for the new Thundercats?
I haven't.
What?
They're bringing it back?
looks
What?
Okay, so it's silly in a Steven Universe kind of drawing kind of
Okay.
way.
Oh,
Like it's really
awesome.
goofy, but it's like I think it's taking a Teen Titans angle where it's very slapstick and funny.
Right.
Oh.
I'm all on board.
Yeah.
You know, like that was made for
Yes.
our generation.
Thundercats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go!
And then you turned it off when Silverhawks came
Yes.
on. You're like, Silverhawks.
So are you of the
Yeah.
Voltron generation too?
I was a total Voltron.
Yes.
Awesome.
A lot of people don't realize that there were 3 Voltrons actually. There was a third Voltron that was made of 3 robots.
I didn't
and then
know.
when they stacked up, it was a Voltron with 6 arms.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
They never showed it here.
Voltron trivia.
Yes, but that delves further into my line of questioning later on. Erin, what are some of your favorite non-book related Wait, no, actually, we weren't done with your question. Were you? You like cartoons?
Like, yeah, all cartoons all the time.
Wow, you're my kind of person. And you, Erin, what are some of your
I
non-related
love
hobbies?
to read. I know that's the answer you're supposed to give when you're an author.
Look,
but
we're
no,
taking
it's-
those 2 points away
It's
from
legit.
Gryffindor now.
It's
okay?
legit. I do. It's my number one favorite thing to do is read. So I'll spend most of the summer reading. I love to cook. I love to, I actually, little secret guilty geek pleasure, I actually build sci-fi models.
I think that's great. He and
Wow.
we went to the Pop Culture Museum.
We did. It was
In-
life-changing.
yeah.
If you're ever in Seattle, go there immediately.
There was a whole
Yes.
wall of sci-fi guns that we saw.
Oh.
We're just like, that one's from
Yes.
Aliens. That one's
Yes.
from
Yes.
the black hole. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We were just trying to out-nerd each other.
I know. It was,
Really.
It was.
And then we went into a store. We went to a store that just sold Warhammer supplies.
Yes.
Not even, and they were in the Wizards of the Coast territory.
Yes.
We're like,
Yes. It was amazing.
it was a very
amazing.
West Side Story kind of thing. Actually, I guess I should answer my own questions as well. Just if the publishing industry disappeared tomorrow, I would make furniture.
Oh.
I like woodworking.
Wow.
What are some of my favorite non-book related hobbies? I too am a gamer. So when I read your bio, I was like, oh
Yes.
my god, we're gonna have so much
You're a
fun
video
talking.
gamer?
Yes.
Yes.
Cartoons.
Same.
Yeah. Any Fortnite
Any
fans out
Fortnite
there?
lovers? Fortnite?
Yeah, of
Fortnite
course.
in the
How is
house?
there only 3 of you who are
What?
fans of Fortnite
What?
in this? Yeah, I see you. I see you. That and I also like to roast coffee. I roast my own coffee.
Oh.
I think everybody should know that the medium roast has the most caffeine, and you don't want to boil your water.
Noted.
Okay.
Okay, now here's a question I think some of us in the audience are curious about. How did each of you get your big break in children's publishing? What was your foot in the door?
Oh, man. Go ahead.
Okay.
Never mind.
Okay, so straight out of college, I had my existential crisis. What am I going to do now? I've been in school my whole life. So I went into telemarketing because that's what you do.
Do you remember what you sold?
I worked for Wells Fargo and got yelled at a lot.
Oh, really? Was this like maybe 5 or 6
Oh,
years ago?
yes,
And I get it.
yes.
Okay. I didn't open this account. What's wrong with you?
So
All the kids are like, what?
while I was doing that, my mom started Dork Diaries, and she asked me to come on board and help her write. So I was doing that part-time. And then she said, you know what, why don't you quit your job and just move to Virginia? And I was like, can I leave now? Like, can I take off my headphone right now and go, deuces?
Yeah. You're like, what are you going to do? Fire me?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I did. And I've been writing for Dork Diaries. And then I wrote a picture book.
So I've been curious, for my own curiosity, is your mother still practicing law?
No.
Oh,
She
okay.
still has her law license.
Yeah.
But she writes full-time.
Does she still go by Esquire?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
right.
so.
No, because our
Of course you
agent,
have to.
Yeah.
If you get Esquire, I
right?
mean, you
Because
go by
we're
Esquire.
all with Writer's House here with Dan Lazar.
Yes.
We're with Jody Reamer, and
Okay,
her
cool.
card is very specifically
Yes.
Esquire.
Yes.
Because I designed her card. Erin, how did you get started?
What was the question? Oh, yeah. I was in theater. I got a job along the way as a creative director with a production house, creating and developing new content for theater in Chicago. And so I knew I went into that leading a team, but I didn't expect that part of my job would be actually writing stuff. So, but it became that I had to pick up the slack and kind of do some writing. And I had never written anything before, and I loved it. I loved it. And then along the way, we started developing of writing theater for kids, and I loved it. And I had always loved kids' books, and so one day I thought, I'm gonna. After doing this for years, I'm like, I want more writing in my life. I'm gonna try and write a kid's book. So I sat down, wrote a story, did all the homework, researched all the publishers, sent my story to some publishers. They did not accept my story right away. No. I got a letter in the mail, and it said, "Hey, Erin, thanks for sending us your story. This story stinks. We do not like your story. We are not going to turn it into a book. P.S. We hate you." I mean, that's how I remember it. It's a paraphrase. I don't remember exactly, but so I was like, okay, fine, be that way. So I wrote another story, sent that one off to some publishers. Got another letter in the mail. It said, "Hey, Erin, thanks for sending us your story. This story stinks. We do not like your story. We are not going to turn it into a book." Okay, I kept writing stories, kept sending them out to publishers. During that period of time, I received, are you ready for it? 390 rejection letters. 390 rejection letters over the course of 5 years. Nobody wanted to turn my stories into a book. but I never gave up. I kept writing stories. I kept sending them out to publishers. I kept getting better at it. And then those form letter rejections that were like, hey, dear Erin, dear author, we hate you, sign the editors. That turned into...
They all signed it, even the art
yeah,
directors.
all of them,
Like,
yeah.
I hate it too.
We all really hate you, really, really badly. Then it turned into a form letter with like sometimes a little note scratched at the bottom, like, "Hey, Erin, this is
Still hate you.
still hate you,
Still hate you.
but this is funny. Like you're good. Like it's not right for us or anyone probably, but keep up the good work. Keep it up. So that was encouraging. So and then those letters started turning into like actual personal rejection like what I call the good rejection letter years, which was like, dear Erin, we still hate you, but this is actually very funny. You're quite good. We're not publishing it. This is a rejection. Let's get clear. But you're good. You know what? Send me your next story. I'd love to see it. And so through that, I started getting better and better and better. And then after 5 years, after 390 rejection letters, the day came when the phone rang, and it was a publisher. And she said, "Hey, Erin, thanks for sending us your story.
Hate you, click.
You don't say yeah."
Call back, psych. Psych.
Yeah, we don't. You don't stink.
Yeah.
You don't smell. We don't hate you. We like your story. We want to turn it into a book. And that was my very first book. And that book became that story became a book called Chicks and Salsa, which was my very first book. And then the same publisher rejected my next 7 manuscripts.
There you go. There you go. Reach for the stars.
I have been
Reach for
equal
the stars.
opportunity hated by all the publishing industry. But one led to another. I never gave up, kept going, kept writing stories, kept sending them out to publishers, never quit trying, and that led to another and another and another, and now I've written 36 books published and counting.
Yay.
And I get to do this full time.
Yay.
So all that hate turned into love. It's an allegory for the ages.
So I worked in the video game industry. I was working at Activision, working on Spider-Man and Call of Duty games. And I came out of art school in 2001, and I wanted to do children's books. I went to school with Peter Brown, and we were the only two guys in the children's book illustration class. And everyone looked at us. They're like, "Oh, cute. You want to make pictures for kids." Now all the rest of them are like out of work, and we're like, "Oh, you want to get into children's books now? Well, eat my dust." I remember I was working at the video game company, and then this organization, the SCBWI, they were having a big national conference, like just 4 or 5 miles away from where I worked, and I took a weekend off, and I went to the conference, and I had a dummy book, and I had my children's book portfolio, and Arthur Levine picked it out of all the portfolios. And for those of you who don't know who Arthur Levine is, because I didn't know who Arthur Levine was at the time. I remember my teacher pulled me aside, and she was just like, because Arthur came up to me, and he was just like, "I want to publish this." And I said, "Oh, okay, thank you." But I had already promised it to another editor, and I walked away. And then my teacher pulled me upside, and she was just like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, this man named Arthur Levine wanted to publish my book, but you told me in art school that you're supposed to like solicit to one editor at a time, and I'm still waiting for that first editor to say no to me." And he's like, "No, do you know what Arthur Levine does?" And I said, "No." And he says, "He does Harry Potter. You go back there and you take his money." and so that was my foot in the door story. Which brings me to my next question. So for those of the people in the audience who are aspiring authors and illustrators, what would be some advice that you would give them? Like mine would be, go to the SCBWI, scbwi.org. Wealth of knowledge.
Mine would be, you can't have just one story up your sleeve. Like I get approached
True.
a lot at
True.
schools by teachers, and they say, "Hey, I've written this book about my dog, and I think it should be a book." And the simple truth is, it's unlikely that your first story is ever going to get published. It's unlikely that your first 5 stories are ever going to get published. It's unlikely that your first 10 stories are ever going to get published. You hear stories about like the person who submitted their first story to their first publisher and it immediately became a New York Times bestseller list. Okay, that's like urban legend.
That's like Dork
it
Diaries.
exists-
That's like Dork
yeah,
Diaries.
Right,
Like
besides that, right. I mean, that's like the
I don't know what
exception.
that's like.
That's really the exception. I mean, it happens, but it's so rare that it doesn't.
What am I gonna do with all this fan mail?
Yeah, it doesn't merit even thinking about it like that. It takes time, and you gotta go to a CBWI, join that. You gotta do your homework and research how to submit a submission to a publisher. What publisher should I submit to? You know, there is such a thing as a right and a wrong publisher for your story, and do your homework, and then send it out and start collecting your rejection letters. I mean, I say that, you know, that sounds funny to say it, but that's really the primary path to getting published is dig in and get your stories out there and start collecting rejection letters and get better and get better and get better.
Right.
And your I hate yous may eventually turn into, we want to turn your story into a book.
Right.
My advice would be to start now, because we all will say,
True, good
oh,
advice.
I have this great idea, but I don't know how to get started, or I don't know if I'm a good enough writer yet. Start now. I was writing, I could barely spell. So if I go back to my old notebooks, I was like 3 years old or something, chicken scratch, but I started. I didn't care if I couldn't spell, I just started. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And also, read.
Yes.
Because it's like exercise for your imagination, and that's not to copy people. We don't want to do that, but it's to engulf yourself, or to get yourself into the world of writing. Get to you'll be inspired, and it just puts you in the zone. So yes, do a lot of reading, do a lot of writing. If you're an illustrator, draw. Just don't think about it, just do it, and you'll get better.
And read stuff that is being published today.
Right.
I know a lot of
Yes.
people who are like, oh, I love Beverly Cleary, and I read that. I still read those today. Yeah, that's great and all, but that's so long ago, and she's brilliant and wonderful and always will be. But that's not what's being published
Right.
today.
Jumanji probably wouldn't be published today. Like
Yeah.
if you're talking about word count, that
Yeah.
thing's like 2,000 words.
Yeah, no, it probably
would.
would. So many things
Which is
that were published
insane.
20, 40, 60 years ago would probably never be published today. It's just a different market. And
Right.
so read what is being published today. I used to sit every Sunday afternoon when I had a full-time job and I was trying to write on the side. Every Sunday I would go and I would spend 4 hours in Barnes & Noble, and I would take every new picture book off their new picture book shelf, and I would pile them in a pile, and I would go sit in the corner in the store, and I would sit there and read them all for free. And then I would take note of the ones who published the ones that were a fit for me, the ones that really resonated, because that was my submission list. That's how I did that for years and years. I did that.
Right. I actually, so true story. When I was starting out as an illustrator, I went to New York, and you could show your portfolios. There was a portfolio drop-offs that you could show to publishers, and I remember dropping off my portfolio to Scholastic, and they came back with a note from David Saylor, who's the creative director over there, and he left a little note in my portfolio that said, "Not right for our list," right? And then I was still in art school because I started early, and then when I finally came out of art school, got that book deal through Arthur. Guess who my art director was? Mr. David Saylor. I showed him. So we're running low on time, so I'm going to do a speed round of questions. Doesn't mean you have to be like really quick, but just these are some fun questions that I think we'd all like to know. Favorite snack? Oh sure, yeah. That's why we're opening up time. Favorite snack?
Twizzlers.
Oh, okay. The traditional kind, or
Yeah.
like the okay.
King size peanut butter cups, Reese's, the big ones.
Raw broccoli. I'm a weirdo.
Liar! Liar! I was on tour with you for 2 weeks. I never saw you eat broccoli.
Can't find really good broccoli where we're on
Oh,
tour.
yeah, that's the problem.
Even
finding
in
broccoli.
the Bay Area, where we just eat quinoa.
I thought someone was going to say creepy carrots.
Creepy. Favorite childhood book?
Jumanji.
No, that's a good one. That's one of my favorites.
James
Yeah.
and the Giant Peach.
I was a big fan of Encyclopedia Brown novels. If I were to be a detective, I would be Donald J. Sobol. You are both fans of cooking. What is your best dish?
Oh gosh. I like making Penang shrimp.
Ooh,
Gingerbread chicken.
pad thai. If you had a round-trip ticket to travel right now, where would you go?
Japan.
Greece.
Ah, you stole my answer. I was going to say Japan.
Greece.
Greece?
Yep.
All right.
I've been to both, and they're both very,
Yeah.
very
Wow,
nice.
you're both well-traveled. How often do you travel?
Well, I don't travel as much anymore, but I've been to St. Lucia, Japan, Greece, and love to go to Spain. That'd be
That would be
nice.
that would be wonderful. Europe is one of my favorites. Speaking of travel, so we all agree that we like to play video games.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo? What are you?
PlayStation and computer.
Okay. You are PC.
PC.
I am all except a Nintendo. So what are you playing right now? What's captured your fancy? What games are you playing? What are you binging on?
Oh, my games are a little violent.
Say it. Say it. I'm Fallout 4. I'm
Rated
a
R.
huge Fallout 4 nut.
Walking Dead.
Okay. Oh, the
The
story.
game, the
I
game.
hear the stories are what really draw
It
the
is
game in.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Five
Nice.
Nights at Freddy's.
Oh,
Anybody?
okay.
Anybody?
All right. Yeah, these guys back here. Right?
World of Warcraft. I'm
World
a
of Warcraft.
hardcore World of Warcraft addict. Yeah.
What are you playing on the PC?
Skyrim.
Ah, Skyrim. God, those Bethesda guys, they're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. So I live in LA where they have E3. So E3 is like next month. So, there's all these rumors of all these cool games coming out. I can't
And
wait.
classic PS3, like Jack and Daxter.
Yes,
Ratchet
because
and
you have some
Clank.
pets named.
I do. My cats are named Jack and Daxter.
You
One
win the
of my
nerd award. I could
favorite
never.
video games.
Nice.
Favorite
That's
video
awesome.
game
Do you
ever.
have any pets?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. So Kelly Light, children's book author Kelly Light, she has a golden retriever named Jabba, and I was really
Oh,
I was
that's good.
jealous.
That's good.
I was so jealous. I have a dog named Indiana for Indiana Jones fans.
I have a teddy bear named Stanley.
Stanley. So how did the name Stanley come about?
My husband brought him, and we were in Kansas City.
Okay.
So that's where he is from. And so we took him back to Virginia, and it reminded me of Flat Stanley, the way
Okay. Okay.
it travels.
Okay.
So I just joked and said, his name should be Stanley, and it stuck.
Nice, nice. And favorite cartoons? You said.
Favorite cartoons would be Steven Universe and Teen Titans Go.
So good. That show's so good.
And Adventure Time. I like
Okay.
I like everything quirky. I love anime. So
Oh, what anime are you watching?
I like the classics, the ones that aren't on anymore, like Cowboy Bebop.
Oh my God, so
Huge
good.
one.
Were you a Fooly Cooly fan?
I couldn't. I tried to, but
Oh,
I
okay.
couldn't.
Because they're doing the
It was
sequels
very
next month.
abstract.
So crazy.
So
good.
they're doing new episodes.
Yeah, they made a second and third season.
My husband loves it.
Oh, well, kudos to your husband. All right.
My son's got me into Sword Art Online right now, so I'm watching
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
and classic Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Classic SpongeBob.
John K. Awkward.
Classic
SpongeBob. Awesome.
SpongeBob.
good.
Yeah, I mean that's eternal.
Adventures of Gumball. I'm a huge Gumball
Yes.
fan. Love Gumball. Any Gumball
Yes.
fans out there? 2 points to Gryffindor. Very nice. Very nice. Probably one of the most beautiful shows I've ever seen in my life. Like, it made me want to illustrate a book in different mediums.
I love how they mix the media.
Very nice. Very nice. Last question, and then we'll take questions from the floor. Is it Yanni or Laurel?
The first time I heard it, it was Yanni. But then
Okay.
the next time I heard it, it was Laurel. I'm so confused.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
We're gonna take another 2 points from Gryffindor just now, okay? But I also got Yanni. But if I put my ear up to the speaker, you could hear Laurel like really low.
Yeah, I think it depends on the device too, because on the television I heard Yanni, and then on my iPad I heard Laurel.
Who heard
Will
Yanni?
somebody
Who
explain
heard
this
Yanni?
to me?
Any Yannis?
What are
Who
we talking
Laurels?
about?
Laurels.
Both.
Oh, you're inferior hearing.
What are we? What is this? What is this?
So if you go online, someone put up an audio file, and it just says Yanni, and then some people are hearing Laurel, and so the entire remember the dress that was like It was yeah, it
Blue
was like
or
white and
white?
yellow, and then everyone was like, no, it's blue and black. It's like that. Like everyone's hearing,
Okay.
and it's mostly Yanni people who are right.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
Fun
They
times.
They say
Okay.
people who hear Yanni have younger ears.
right. So
okay.
I'm sorry. Let's take some questions from the floor. Anybody have questions for these? Yes. Yes. I worked on the first Call of Duty Black Ops game. Oh.
Wow.
I worked on
Instant street
the
cred.
Spider-Man movie games that Tobey Maguire would do, and Tobey Maguire would come in and he'd do like voice recording. Oh. We have Seabiscuit fans. And then what else? Oh, I was working on NHL hockey for Sega. That was like a side project that we were working on at the time. Any other questions? Yes. J.K. Rowling does do Harry Potter.
Arthur Levine, the man he mentioned, is
He's
the publisher.
He's the editor, yeah.
Yes.
He's
yes.
the editor.
J.K. Rowling is the writer, but Arthur Levine is the man who published it in America.
My parents didn't want me to do children's books for a living, but when I told them that I was working with the same editor who does Harry Potter, they were like, okay. You are okay. You win first prize. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So here's the deal with Creepy Carrots and Creepy Pair of Underwear. I am not typically a fan of sequels because often, like, the sequel's just not as good as the first one, right? So when I never wrote Creepy Carrots expecting to do it as a series, and so when the first one came out and kids loved it so much, they were like, will you do a sequel? And the publisher was like, will you do a sequel? And I'm like, just because we can? Like, I don't know. There's a word for that, kids. That's called selling out. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to do another one just because I know kids will buy it, and I'll be like, ooh, money. So
You can
so
go
I was like,
cry.
I'll only do a second one if I can come up with an idea that I think is just as good as the first one. And I didn't think I was going to come up with one, so I pretty much said no. And then I was at a school in Virginia, not far from here, and this kid came up to me after I read Creepy Carrots. I was visiting the school, and he comes right up to me and says, Erin Reynolds. Just one name. Erin Reynolds. That Creepy Carrots book, hilarious. Thank you. You need to write a book about scary underpants. And I was like, you are brilliant, small child. And so that's why I wrote it. And I went home and I wrote a story about scary underpants. But it was high pressure. I was like, it's got to be just as good as the first one. So the third, will I do a third one? The jury is out. If I can come up with a story that's just as good as the first two, then I will. Otherwise, I'll feel like I am selling out.
You make
yeah.
creepy bag of money.
Creepy bag of money.
He's crying. You're crying. You're
Okay.
just crying in a bag of
Yeah.
money. You're like, oh, why? Why did I do this? It's
Creepy sellout.
it's so creepy.
Why did I
It's so
sell
creepy.
out?
all this money.
I have to go to the
How
bank
did this
now.
10 get in here? Throw that away.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah. So we don't ever work directly.
We don't even make eye contact.
No,
We don't
I
look
try
at
not
each
to look.
other.
I try not to be in the same room with him at all costs if I can avoid it. Like, this is a rare exception. So and this funny guy, if you look at the cover of it, it says on the cover, "Word by Erin Reynolds." Yeah, that's his idea of a joke. See, isn't he funny? But no, I didn't just write "dude" 25 times and hand that in and be like, "Make it brilliant." So I actually wrote an entire story in what I'm going to call like stage directions. I wrote an entire story. Here's platypus and a beaver come from opposite ends of the page. They greet each other. They're standing on a beach. They're carrying surfboards. They're wearing surf shorts. They greet each other, dude. The platypus points out an ice cream stand nearby, dude. So I wrote the whole story. Really, everything he drew, I wrote first. I came up with it first.
So
Let's be clear on that. Let's be clear on that.
So that's
then-
where the theater came in, right?
Yes, that's it. That's it. So
good.
so I wrote it all, and then he pretty much drew exactly what I told him to in the words. Yeah.
Turned out fun. It was a fun collaboration. And this is actually our second collaboration. Our first
Yes.
one was Carnivores.
Carnivores. If you haven't read that, that was our first together.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Actually, so I'm selfishly going to take the last question. Since you were a cartoonist, is there a graphic novel in your future, perhaps? You want to try a hand at a graphic novel?
That would be awesome. I would love to bring back my character, Jada Joy. She's like
Okay.
a little kid who thinks like a sarcastic adult, so that would be great to do.
Nice, nice. Because you've done some graphic novels.
I have 3 graphic novel series.
Advice? Do you have
cool.
advice for her?
Advice for doing a graphic novel? Yeah, I mean, you probably don't need any advice. I mean, you know, it's a lot like plotting, you know, a Dork Diaries or something longer. I write it like a play, so the format is more of a script than anything else. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, the graphic novel
It's a
novel
beast.
memoirs are pretty much taken over the joint.
Right,
Like I'm really
right.
like I am a guy. Can I get in on this game too? Because it's like Smile and you know El Defo and
Right.
All's Fair in middle school, and so
Right.
I don't think you need any advice from me.
I've done one graphic novel, Sidekicks, and then I'm currently working on 2. My advice to you is clear your calendar. This is going to
Yeah.
consume your life.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. I think maybe we're going to be at signing tent C. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
In
Thanks
this
for braving
rainy
this
weather.
weather.